Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a frigid New York City, where in mere moments tonight, the Prairie Dogs of War of Brooklyn will take on CLS United for the championship of Gotham League Soccer. Folks, this is the big one. I'm Shane Ryan, delighted to be joined tonight, as always, by the scourge of St. Louis himself, Steve Melnick. Steve, we're in the city that never sleeps, but even by those standards, buddy, I think we're in for one wild night.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of the city that never sleeps, I never slept last night. So excited about tonight's game. We have the top two teams in the Gotham League. Beautiful setting tonight on the banks of the East River, and I can't wait to see what happens. So let's get after it, man.
And Steve, I was just going to say what you were saying. When you are reading the previews in the newspaper at the start of the season, when you're making your predictions, when you're putting together your fantasy rosters, deep down, what you want at the end of the season is the Prairie Dogs against CLS United. What a rich history between these two teams, and we're getting the dream matchup tonight.
Yeah, definitely. These guys have been in the finals the last 4 seasons, and every time they play, there's red cards, there's goals scored, there's controversy. And so this is the matchup that we want. This is the matchup the fans want. And so this is a perfect night for this championship.
Well, Steve, it's all happening soon. We've got about 7 minutes until kickoff at Pier 40 East in Manhattan. You think we should go over the starting lineups and take a look at what the captains have provided for us?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
All right. Just give me 1 minute to pull it up here, Steve. We are our own producers tonight here, folks. And so at times you will have to bear with us. And at times you won't. And this is one of those times that you will.
And while you're bearing with us, everyone, they should pour themselves a nice drink, enjoy, relax, sit back. This is going to be a fun night.
And Steve, speaking of that, what are you drinking tonight as we get started here?
A little Buffalo Trace on the rocks.
All right.
And a little water.
All right, so first things first here, Steve. I'm going to pull up the Prairie Dogs of Brooklyn. Prairie Dogs of War of Brooklyn. Captains Dan Wachtel and Jewel Ventura. Now, it looks like here, Steve, they're going to start in a 4-2-3-1. However, the document we're looking at, there are some changes to the actual starting lineup. Do you want to fill our listeners in on that?
Yeah, it looks like Nick McBee will be out, and in his place will be Jacob Siegel. And then Henry Caballero will be in for Wynton Marsalis. So those are a couple of shifts that last-minute changes to the roster while they were submitted to the refs.
Perfect. Now, let's start with the keeper. We heard from Dan Wachtel before the match that this is going to be the 4th keeper in as many championships as they had. Again, 4th time they're meeting CLS United, 4th different keeper. Tell me about David Mashkevich.
Well, every time they put a new keeper in, obviously they have success. David Mashkevich he's a tall guy. He's a young guy. He also is a big fan of the Ukrainian national team, but he makes saves all over the field. They have the best defensive record in the league. So looking forward for a big night from David.
And now one of the interesting things, Steve, about the Prairie Dogs is that you do see the extremes of ages on both sides. So here you have young, passionate keeper, and then playing in front of him in the defense, you can't talk about the D of this team without talking about Dan Wachtel, the 41-year-old veteran journeyman who really, more than anybody else, is responsible for bringing the Prairie Dogs to where they are today.
That's right. His experience and leadership, really the heart and soul of this team. And I think we really expect him to keep the team under control when they're under pressure, really talk to them and keep them balanced, keep the lines intact. And so we're really going to be expecting a lot from Dan to make sure that they can keep that defensive line together from that big pressure from CLS.
And now what a great story Dan is. And I think we have to talk about that for a moment. Here's a guy who, when he started out, he comes from Princeton. He was on the club team there. Nothing terrible about that. That's great. However, there's a lot of college players on this team. People were saying he's not fit for the Gotham Soccer League. When he got his team promoted, they said, that's fine. He's never going to win a championship. Well, he gets to the championship game twice. They say, well, Dan's never going to win one. And now here he is, and he's the defending champion. So really a story of resilience, the story of a guy who hasn't lost a step as he's gotten older. And to me, one of the greatest athletic stories of 2020.
I think that's exactly right. I mean, I can't think of any other story, anything that else has happened in 2020 that surpasses the courage that Dan has shown. Thank you, Dan.
And elsewhere on the defense, we have Henrik Olsen, Shane Powell, and Alex Avomo-Ndong. And a lot to talk about with all of these guys. Maybe start with Shane Powell, the quiet storm. Plays with an intensity, doesn't say much, lets his game do the talking on the field, Steve.
Yeah, shy Shane Powell really stepped it up for the team this year, moved from center back to wing back. You remember back early in the season when Dan Frey, remember he hurt his leg. They're worried they were going to have to amputate it, but thankfully they saved his leg. But Shane Powell really stepped up and moved over the wing back and has been a solid player there the whole time.
And that's what now Henrik Olsen. Here's a guy again who amazing pedigree, young guy, plays with a lot of vigor and vim. What can we expect from him tonight? And what do we know about Henrik?
Well, a lot of energy. Super young guy. Just came from Vassar. Was the captain of the team last year. Grew up in Japan. Just again, like you said, interesting pedigree. So he's had a lot of different experiences. So expect a lot of speed up and down that left-hand side.
And yeah, an incredibly international group here. Joel Ventura, the Cole captain, he's part of the midfield group with Nick McBee. This midfield, I think, Steve, probably going to be one of the keys to the game, as midfields typically are in your average soccer match.
Yeah, I mean, Joel Ventura, probably the closest to being a pro on this team, had a tryout with Wycombe a decade ago. And I mean, we've seen some amazing videos of his skills. So I don't know if we have any of that or if we'll be able to show that a little bit later, but just some incredible skill in that midfield. So I think they might be looking to do a ball possession type game and really keep CLS out of it.
Yeah, and we can't emphasize enough. We're going to see that video in a moment. This is some skilled soccer. This is not your average old man's rec league. These guys are very good. Unbelievable histories. And Steve, we can't talk about Prairie Dogs without talking about the winner of the Golden Boot in Gotham Soccer League. That's Natari Muhammad, the biggest scoring threat, 16 goals through 8 games on the year. Truly maybe a generational talent when we talk about the Gotham, the history and the pedigree of Gotham strikers.
Yeah, the league, the Hall of Fame committee is going to definitely be looking at him to induct him into the Hall of Fame. Left-footed shot from Jamaica, all over the field. He's going to be putting pressure with their high press. So I think you might see some turnovers. You might see some interesting things. Definitely one to watch out for him, Natari Muhammad.
All right, quickly, let's go to the CLS United here. And we're looking at their lineup. Steve, the first thing I want to talk about here, though, is the rivalry. Now, we've mentioned that this is their 4th time playing in the title match, but they also had an interesting game earlier this year. And Steve, you were at that game, and I don't think it's one you're soon going to forget.
No, I'm never going to forget that game. It was amazing. River Dogs up 3-2, then a very controversial red card. I mean, fans were pouring onto the field. They had to bring the police out and hold everyone back. It was really kind of a touch and go situation. And after that Prairie Dog red card, CLS came back and won 4-3. No one was happy. The refs had to be escorted out. It was just a dangerous situation. But so this is a really heated rivalry, and both teams really want to win this game.
Yeah, really one of the ugly situations we can remember in American soccer. And frankly, in my opinion, the refs are to blame 100% for all of that. And they were lucky worse didn't happen to them that night. Now, CLS2, before we get into their lineups, the CLS is an acronym that originally stood for Columbia Law School. And one factor I wanted to mention to you, Steve, is that as an institution, Columbia Law School is beloved. We all know that. They're incredibly popular. And one factor I was considering is, when they play this match tonight, do the Prairie Dogs have to be concerned at being essentially overwhelmed by fan support, shouted out of the arena because of the inherent popularity of Columbia Law School?
Yeah, well, I was thinking the same thing. So I had a conversation with Jeff Alexander, and so he was talking to me about the relationship between CLS and Columbia Law School. And so he was saying, really, there's not much of a relationship anymore. He's the only one who graduated from Columbia Law School. And he likened CLS to Columbia Law School as KFC is to Kentucky Fried Chicken. So really, I think he's trying to compare his team to Kentucky Fried Chicken. And I think he thinks their finger looking good, and they think they have a good shot to win this one.
And very quickly, looking at their lineup, we see it right here. They're going to be running the 4-4-2. Notable players here. I know Adam Crew has a great story in particular.
Yeah, he was drafted by the Columbus Crew, so definitely good pedigree on that team. And they've got players from Colgate, Brown, a lot of East Coast, really hoity-toity schools. A few Bucknell guys, kind of that kind of player, but definitely high-level college players all over the pitch. So traditional 4-4-2, they're going to be tough. They're the league champs in the regular season, so this is going to be a hard match.
And, of course, the great story about Adam Crew, he was born Adam Sanderson, but he's such a team guy that when he was drafted by the Columbus Crew, he changed his last name. He changed his whole family name, and his parents were furious. But that just shows how his dedication.
Yeah, he's a dedicated guy. Granted, he didn't make the Crew, but good for him on making that commitment.
All right, so a lot of people in the chat are asking, when does the game start? Well, do not worry. The minute this live stream kicks up, we're going to shift you to it. It has not started, but we are on it. And that is all I can say right now about that. But we continue to check in on the status. The video seems to be a little glitchy, unlike ours. But again, we'll let you know the minute that happens. And so, Steve, looking at the standings very quickly, here you see it. You have CLS United at the top, 7 wins, 1 draw, 0 losses. Prairie Dogs, of course, have the 1 loss that we just discussed with the infamous red card episode. But really, for the past few years, these two teams have been head and shoulders above anyone else in this league.
You're right. And so year after year, these are the 2 dynasties in the top tier of the Gotham League. And if you look this year, these 2 teams lead in goal differential. And as a matter of fact, the Prairie Dogs have a slight goal differential edge throughout the regular season. And I think they scored something like 25 goals in the last 3 games. So they're coming in hot. Their defense has been strong. And so this will be a big challenge for CLS to stop the Prairie Dogs from touching the net.
Okay, and so again, we are checking in every possible moment with and they have a scoreboard. I'm happy to know that they have a scoreboard, but the video is showing black right now, even though it says live. So again, folks, we're going to get you there the minute we can. In the meantime, Steve, you alluded earlier to a video from Jewel Ventura, the captain of the Prairie Dogs. I think that's worth looking at right now, just to show how good these guys are. One moment as I bring that up. All right, the first person you're going to see here in the video I'm about to show you is Ventura. And again, just watch and you'll be astounded at the skill on display. So there you go, Steve. And I know part of you balks at that because you come from an old-fashioned football tradition where we say we don't showboat, we don't do anything like that. But you have to be impressed by the skill on display there.
Of course. And, especially for someone in the Gotham League, that's an amazing amount of skill. And it'll be interesting to see how that skill and that flashiness manifests itself on the field today. Will they be going after him? Will they be going for Jewel's body because, he's holding the ball and he's trying to put it on his face? Don't know. So we'll have to see how that works out in the match today.
And as we wait for the video to start here, Steve, I have to ask you too about an interesting dynamic where one captain, Dan Wachtel for the Prairie Dogs, is a starter. He's going to be starting on the field on defense. Jeff Alexander, the CLS United captain, has himself on the bench. Now, look. You and I both read all the blogs, all the Gotham blogs. We read the newspapers. We listen to the TV shows, the pundits, everything. Some people, not us, are saying that shows a certain selfishness on Dan's part and a selflessness on Jeff's part that could make the difference in this game. You put any credence into that?
I put absolutely no credence into that. Those blogs are trash. They predicted Trump was going to win the election. That obviously didn't happen. They also said that UFOs are fake, and we know UFOs are real. So these blogs cannot be trusted for anything. So in terms of whether it's selfish or selflessness, I think that's all rubbish.
Excellent. Good to know. All right. Now, Steve, the live stream has just begun, and I'm going to see if we can make this full screen. All right. We can't make it full screen like there, but I am going to start sharing it with folks in just a moment here.
Yeah, just so we know, I think we got a live report from the field. I think it's about 28 degrees, but it's clear, light breeze. So the weather really shouldn't be a factor. Actually, it's probably very nice weather. Shouldn't be any wind, or the pitch should be dry. So they shouldn't have to worry about anything like any kind of factors like that. They should be able to play pretty much straight up their normal game.
All right, now we are going to bring up this video here. The match has just begun. And again, Steve, remind us which colors the teams are playing in today.
Yeah, the Prairie Dogs will be in the red, and CLS will be in blue.
Okay, so perfect. I think we've got it up here as of right now. All right, there we are. So the action has started. I do want to tell folks that we attempted to get our own cameras in there. We have a large production team. Gotham Soccer, God bless them, they run a great organization. They said, no, we're going to handle it. So these are not our technicians on the field here, Steve.
Yeah, that's right. I think we had the VAR ready to go, and they took that out, and the instant replay. So we'll deal with what we have.
All right, now, Steve, I hate to ask you again, dude. I was pulling up the video. Remind me again who's who here in the colors.
Well, the red team is CLS, is the Prairie Dogs.
Okay.
And the blue team is CLS.
So it looks like they are playing outdoors here, and it looks like a turf field, if I'm not mistaken. And I wanted to ask you this, Steve. The Prairie Dogs famously ended the FC Harlem's 272 match win streak during the Great Blizzard of 2008. Dan Wachtel still not welcome in the borough of Harlem. These guys are known as cold players. They love the weather. They call themselves the Weather Dogs in days like this instead of the Prairie Dogs. Is that going to come into play? And can CLS bring the same intensity and the same love of that cold weather?
Yeah, well, what's not as well known is in 1974, CLS stopped the Newark Jays, their 400-game winning streak, in a similar kind of cold situation. So they also have a history of playing in cold weather. And okay. I think the alumni from that team will have them well prepared mentally and physically to battle the elements today.
And it seems like early on, we've got a little pressure being put on by CLS United here, but answered at every moment by the Prairie Dogs. Now, looking at their two formations, I know the differences are subtle, Steve, as we see the Prairie Dogs make a run up the left side. Great cross. That looks like Muhammad, and it's stopped, and it's over the end line. Tell me the difference between the 4-2-3-1 and the 4-4-2. Practically, what does that mean in terms of the style of these two teams?
Well, 4-2-3-1 is going to probably have a better defensive setup. You've got 5 midfielders who can be ready to come back. They could eventually go in a line of 5 if they need to, and they may have a striker isolated more up top. 4-4-2 is a little more traditional, a little more balanced across the field. But it'll be interesting to see sometimes teams play. Usually, what you see in the formations are more their defensive formations, and then they break into a different kind of offensive formation. Looks like we might have an injury on the field right off the bat.
Oof.
And that's
a Prairie Dog down.
And Natari Muhammad.
Is it Natari? I was wondering if it was Natari Muhammad. That would be, needless to say, quite a blow for the Prairie Dogs if that were to be anything serious here.
Yeah, as we said, he was the Golden Boot winner of the league, 16 goals throughout the season. The betting lines are going crazy. I don't know what I don't have the live betting called up, but and now the over under was 6.5 for total goals, and I think the Prairie Dogs were favored by half a goal.
And just to let people know, we do not gamble on games we're calling. Is that correct, Steve?
This is just for entertainment discussion purposes only, of course. Yeah.
All right. So periodically throughout, they're going to have guests join us. And Steve, our first one is here now. It's Aaron K. Aaron is a correspondent. I believe Aaron has the sort of international flair that you and I might be lacking as we sit here and talk about, of course, the world's foremost international sport. So Aaron, I'm going to welcome you on to the show. Can you hear me, sir?
Hi, Governor.
All right, there's Aaron. Aaron, early on, we're seeing some pressure from both teams, potential injury to Muhammad. What do you make of what you've seen so far?
Oh, the knock Muhammad took, it was a tough one.
That's right. And Aaron, you, someone who famously played for some of the most legendary clubs in Europe, and then at the end of your career, took a very big salary to come play in the Gotham Soccer League. What was that transition like for you, and how have you seen the league develop over years?
Well, it was mostly about the women back then. The fame, it was incredible. You see here that you've got CLS. They're probing. They've put it out now. But yes, fine league, good lads. Enjoyed it. Governors, Brovs. All that.
And as we listen to you speak, obviously we can hear your accent. What part of the UK are you from, Aaron?
That's right.
Sure. Okay, appreciate that. And by the way, Steve, that looked like a nice little poke out by Dan Wachtel there as United made their run a moment ago.
Great recovery.
He's the tall bloke in the middle.
Say that again.
He's the tall bloke in the middle.
Okay.
That's Wachtel.
And now I think we see him again there on the left side, and a great slide tackle. I assume that's Dan. Steve, I don't know if you can confirm that.
I can neither confirm nor deny that is Dan Wachtel.
Okay, great. So, Aaron, talk to me about the keys to the game. You're a great friend of Dan Wachtel. You also know Jeff Alexander. Talk to me about their personalities and how it imprints itself on their respective teams.
Oh, this match is going to come down to toughness. Toughness, Shane. Good old-fashioned tackling, like we just saw. We see that the skill players, they're going to be challenged. We need toughness in the cold. The elements are very rough. You've got to like where the dogs of war are coming from.
And there's a corner kick, we say, headed back out safely, but cleared back onto the side. So early on, this is very early to say this, Steve and Aaron, but it looks like maybe United has a little bit of the run of play so far.
Yeah, that looks like the case. They're definitely.
There'll be disbarred in the morning. There'll be disbarred in the morning. Disbarred in the morning. They'll be disbarred in the morning. Disbarred in the morning. They'll be disbarred in the morning.
Very, very good. Of course, a reference there to the Columbia law. All right, now, Aaron, before we let you go here, give us a little sense of how you and Steve are getting on. You two famously were antagonists in your careers, not just on the field, a little bit off the field too, personal relationships, women, things like that. There have been some famous fights over the years. As you two have gotten older and you're past the prime of your careers, have you been able to reconcile? Is there any sense of kinship or friendship now that you've been through the wars, so to speak?
I don't care to comment on that.
Nope. And I'm not allowed to. I have a restraining order and a non-disclosure agreement, so we cannot talk about this.
Fair enough. I think that says quite a lot from both of you. All right, Aaron, give us some keys for the Prairie Dogs, because I think they're a little bit on their back foot. How can they break through here and get a goal?
Well, you only have to get the one. What they need to do is keep focusing the defensive effort. You see there, they've got the ball out for a goal kick. They'll be transitioning down the field. You see, down the pitch. But I say that there's not many goals in this one. It's a cold night, a brisk night, and the stiffer the defense is, the strong organization that they've got, that should be enough to get them through.
All right. Well, Aaron, thank you very much. Steve, any last words? Any questions for Aaron before he leaves us?
No, just go to hell, Aaron.
And with that, with one button, we've kicked him off. And, again, Steve, Aaron, a controversial figure, but when you talk about international bona fides, just the fact that he cycled effortlessly between several different accents shows you that this guy knows what he's talking about. He's really been around the world.
Yeah, apparently he's been all over the British territories. I mean, pretty much every country, every accent that one could have, he has experienced, he has spoken. So,
and all of them not quite right. All of them not quite right in a sort of impressive way.
That is true. That is true.
Okay, so Steve, here we are. We're about 10 minutes in. I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we have a clock here. But it looks like we're about 10 to 15 minutes into the match so far. Still scoreless. While Aaron was speaking, we saw CLS United head a ball. It looked like it went over the goal. But certainly they've had the better chances here.
Yeah, so CLS is deploying one of their strikers as a hold-up man. So what they're able to do is pass the ball into him. He's bringing the ball back and making a run. So they're able to stretch out the Prairie Dog defense by sucking them up to the hold-up man, spreading it out wide, and then passing through. And it's working well for them. But it looks like there's room out to the sides, out in the wings for the Prairie Dogs if they can take advantage of it.
Well, they just had a lovely through ball up the left side. Maybe a touch more patience was called for there on that possession. They seem to have something set up, but perhaps the nerves of a championship game, they're really trying to push when they get the ball and perhaps a little errantly.
I think that's right. So there's some good work by CLS to, again, work the ball down the wings.
And the ball is sent in and cleared away once again. Yeah, and you have to think if it continues at this pace, CLS, I mean, again, the last time they played, it was a 4-3 game, so we did see a lot of goals. I actually think Aaron did make a good point that the cold weather might reduce scoring to some degree, and yet, if you were a betting man, you might think that a goal is coming for CLS before too long here.
Yeah, they're starting to break that defense down, and we all know defending is very hard, very tiring. When you're chasing the ball around, it's going to wear on you. And now, we haven't seen Atari Muhammad if he's able to continue. So we're gonna keep our fingers crossed that the Golden Boot winner will be able to make a return.
Hey, and by the way, a little bit about the rules here for folks wondering. This is a 90-minute game. It is 11 aside, clearly, 4 ref linesmen. This is about as close as you can get to a perfectly run game in the amateur levels in New York City as I think is possible.
Yeah, that's right. It looks like it's well refereed so far. It looks like they're letting them play a little bit. And again, I think the Prairie Dogs need to work it side to side like they're doing now, making their way down the field. I think that's right, side to side.
And as the ball goes over the end line, Steve, here, a little history of the Prairie Dogs. Again, Dan Wachtel started this team coming out of Princeton as the captain of the club team. They've been competing together since 2002. Gotham Soccer, their first year was 2015. They were not in the first division. They had to be promoted. Again, they've climbed their way up the ranks. They have a spin-off team called Prairie Dogs Orange that is also battling in the top division. And they are the returning champion. And as their blurb puts it, they are respected and feared citywide. To that point, I don't think you need any more statistics than their Instagram account has over 100 followers, Steve.
That's 3 digits is, I mean, they should probably be selling ads and like doing mattress ads and things like that. I mean, that's impressive. I'm sure they're a very wealthy club.
Now, interestingly too, it looks like there's a baseball diamond on the left side of this pitch. It's a multi-service. I'm actually very impressed by the facilities.
Yeah, well, you know, is that it? We get the first goal?
We have a first goal?
Prairie Dogs.
The Prairie Dogs have opened it up to scoring. That is a player we don't know with the first goal of the game. Wow. Perhaps a little bit against the run of play.
Yeah, it looks like they were able to looks like there was a bad turnover on the right side, or excuse me, the left side, and the Prairie Dog player was able to kind of work along the end line and I think now CLS looks flustered. They just kicked the ball out of bounds on the kickoff, and they're definitely not happy and flustered. I think there's an opportunity here to maybe get a second one and start getting a little bit of a lead.
Yeah, fantastic turn of events and way to be opportunistic for the Prairie Dogs. The psychology now is going to be the big factor here. But we have seen CLS United come from behind before against the same team this season. So, you know, we're not looking at anything unprecedented here, but A great start for Prairie Dogs. As we see, a rough tackle on the side.
Beautiful tackle. That's that foul is not. He's been letting things go, and so that's a little bit aggressive. And it looks like we have another potential injury, but he seemed to get all ball.
Yeah, it was a good aggressive tackle. Maybe milked it a little, but I think he did take a little stinger there in the shin. So
yeah,
but no cards, no harm done.
No harm, no. Maybe it's a good time to talk about a sponsor, one of our sponsors today. We have some sponsors. Turnmill Pub. Shane, have you ever been to Turnmill Pub?
I have not been to Turnmill Pub, but I did, as we see a scrum in front of the Prairie Dogs goal, cleared away successfully. I've not been to Turnmill Pub. I'm sure I've walked by it. I lived and worked in Midtown for a little while. And I think, the Turnmill Pub, what they can really offer on 27th Street on the east side is to say, this is the place to get away from Midtown if you don't want to get away from Midtown.
That sounds like the Turnmill Pub I know.
And I also want to give a quick shout out to another sponsor of the broadcast. I want to make that clear. It's not a sponsor of either team or the league, but Apocalypse Sports Trivia. It is the world's foremost online trivia league, over 300 members. People seem to love it, and you can read more at apocalypsetrivia.com. And you should contact me as the spokesperson if you're interested in joining.
So it definitely looks like the Prairie Dogs are managing play. It looks like they have a ball in dangerous spot.
And as it's saved, Steve, we welcome Charles Starr onto the Charles, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can. Thanks for having me. Sorry, my camera does not appear to be working because I'm on mobile.
No problem at all.
That is for the best for your audience.
That's right. Well, Charles, it's wonderful to have you, both for your soccer knowledge and because, as we discussed before the game today, you are one of the few people in this world who is very close to Dan Wachtel. He is somebody who protects his private life, severely, some might say. He likes to keep people out. Getting in the inner circle of trust is not easy. You're in there. And so I guess the question we would have to ask you is, who is Dan Wachtel outside of a soccer pitch?
Well, I mean, one thing that may not be obvious to your listeners, the viewers of the game, Dan is 4 feet tall.
Interesting. Dan
is 4 feet tall, but he plays taller. It's impressive.
And, I hate to ask you.
3'8" of it is legs.
So a 4 foot tall man, 3'8" legs. How tall does he play, Charles?
He plays like a 4'7", 4'8".
Good to know. And a guy like that, you've worked with him in a professional capacity and in a personal capacity. You're his friend. What motivates him? What gives that guy the drive to take a team like the Prairie Dogs all the way to the top?
Well, there's nothing he actually wouldn't do for Prairie Dogs. That's how we met. He was digging holes for disabled Prairie Dogs. He's a noble guy.
Okay. I didn't know. That's so interesting. To be honest, I didn't know there were disabled Prairie Dogs, and so he would dig the holes for them because they weren't capable of doing that themselves.
Correct.
Okay, as we see a run in here, and the keeper has to come way out of his box.
That actually is how Dan got most of his pro bono credit when we were working at the law firm together. Okay,
and so here's a question for you, Charles.
Yeah.
Was his love of Prairie Dogs so great that he named his soccer team after them, or did the love of Prairie Dogs follow the name?
You know what? As well as I know Dan, it's the one thing he won't tell.
He won't. So he will not tell you what came first.
No, he's holding out. He's holding out. I have told him that it is possible that I will take one of his children hostage to get an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And he shrugged it off. Very Kaiser Soze up.
And by the way, we can shout out Dan's family. He's given us permission. Steve, you don't have their names handy, do you?
Oh, I do.
Okay.
His loving wife Eve is at home, hopefully watching and enjoying this match. Now the kids might be asleep. We've got Henry, Arthur, and James probably past their bedtime, but maybe in the future when they watch this game and relive the glory of their father's past, they'll watch it with pride and know that they got their names mentioned on YouTube.
And which one of those, Charles, would you take hostage if you to go back to what you were referencing earlier?
Oh, whichever one I could catch, I suppose. Okay. Though I have to say, if there's any open field, that would make none of them.
Okay, fair enough. And what do you think of the match so far, Charles?
Oh, I honestly had just turned it on. I had just turned it on because I didn't want to, interfere with the broadcast if I screwed up the technology. But now I see how easy it is to mute, and I'll be able to keep it up. And I'm definitely going to be honest here. I have no idea which team is which.
I also didn't know that at the start. Just so you know for the future, red is Prairie Dogs, blue CLS United.
Uh-huh. There we go.
There you go. And Steve, I have to say that goal seems to have really put the wind in the sails of the Prairie Dogs. They're playing much better. They're playing aggressive, and I think they're now on the ascendancy here.
Yeah, you see a little more desperation out of CLS when they go down the field. It's mostly through balls and trying to break away, whereas you see the Prairie Dogs really trying to build, possess the ball, move side to side, although it looks like CLS has a little break down the left-hand side.
Here we go, yeah, and they're running, and pretty well defended.
Nice block by the defender. That's the defender definitely kept him outside, kept his man outside, didn't let him get to the center and get a good angle on the goal.
And Charles, you mentioned, of course, the volunteer work that Dan does off the field. This is something all of America wants to know. What does this guy do for fun? Does he do anything for fun? Is it all soccer all the time? What are this guy's hobbies? Does he have hobbies? What does he do?
He is. He obviously reads more than any normal human should, and he apparently spends a lot of time playing video games. That could have been a funny answer, but I really think I'm wearing out Steve's patience.
I'm loving everything. I love learning, Charles. This is great. It helps me understand the game more when I learn a lot more about the players I'm watching and the personal lives. This is very helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
What is the score here, by the way? I heard you say that the Prairie Dogs had scored.
They have 1-0 Prairie Dogs.
Oh, very nice.
And we probably should have kept track, but estimate we're coming up on about the 30th minute here, Steve.
It seems like it. It does. It's probably only the 5th minute, but it definitely seems like the 30th minute.
I just want to point out, this is just for your tech team. There doesn't appear to be a clock or a score, Chiron.
Yeah, that is well said. Unfortunately, we are not in control of that part of the game, that part of the production. We've talked with their people. We did the best could, and really, that's the end of the story.
I understand.
Yeah. Well, Charles, before we let you go, what pitfalls do you look for from the Prairie Dogs based on your knowledge of Dan as a person? What could go wrong here? What traps does he have to avoid in his own psyche?
I think the biggest thing he needs to avoid is conflict with partners who want to hold on to their book of business and keep associates from getting too much work of their own.
And I like that. Steve, anything for Charles?
Charles, do we differentiate between prairie dogs, gerbils? How do I know what a prairie dog really is?
Well, honestly, that's a question for Dan. All I was doing was sharpening his shovels.
Well, Charles, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us, and we wish you a good night and enjoy the rest of the match.
Thanks for having me, guys. Enjoy the game.
Charles Starr, what a guy. Thanks again, Charles. And there we saw a corner kick, Steve. Again, well defended. You've got to say, any threats that have been coming, the Prairie Dogs have always had an answer, and they've been making it look easy so far.
Yeah, even when their defensive lines have been broken a little bit, they've gotten one of their holding midfielders back to double up the offensive player. So they've really been able to keep shots away from goal so far. I don't know if we've had any real shots on goal. Some deflections kind of dribbled towards it, but Prairie Dog's definitely doing a good job on the defensive end.
You know, really interesting stats right now. We have 52 viewers, Steve, and there are only 28 on the live feed for Gotham Soccer. So in a way, that's a victory for us.
In a way, and we should have been monetizing this the whole time. I mean, I think we had Anheuser-Busch, we had Coca-Cola, but we never really could secure the deal. Yeah,
now, and we've got a lot of comments going on in the chat here. Maybe that should be the next element of the broadcast we incorporate, Steve. You know, a very, very active chat room. I'm looking at Dylan Holzer says, anyone want action on over/under 0.5 nutmegs the rest of the way?
Again, we don't condone gambling, but
sure.
It's more, you know, if you're in a place that allows it legally, then be my guest.
Yeah, for sure. And as you do that, I'm going to try to hunt down our next guest.
All right. Well, let me read another sponsor. We want to talk again about Turn Mill Pub. Again, East 27th Street between Park and Lexington. If you have nothing to do tomorrow night is an open jazz session. So if you play an instrument or you just want to listen to some smooth jazz, head over to Turn Mill Pub. Great
there
place.
It is. And hey, speaking of music and jazz, a lot of people were making reference to Wynton Marsalis II and the musician. And just so people know, all bits aside, he is indeed the son of Wynton Marsalis.
And by all accounts, an amazing dude on his own right, of course.
Yeah, sure.
COVID contact tracer. So definitely thank him for his service.
Absolutely.
Super important role, and was a track star, I believe, in college. So,
and here we have another run smothered by the United goalkeeper. Probably approaching the 35th minute now. And Steve, we have another guest.
I can't wait. Exciting.
Of course, it's Joanna Hodges, team psychologist for Prairie Dogs. How are you, Joanna?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Well, we're great, and thank you very much for joining us. I know typically someone in your position is sort of, I don't know what you want to say, stuck by client, confidentiality agreements. So we were surprised when you said yes to coming on, and of course, very happy.
Yeah, I'm really appreciative that you guys invited me on. Anytime that I can talk about the mental side of the game is an opportunity for me.
Now, you must have an incredibly hard job, Joanna, because these are guys who are in the national spotlight. Much is expected from them. And, they're the kind of people that live in New York City, the biggest city in America, and they can't leave their apartment without being really hounded like you would have seen probably the last time in history, the Beatles in their heyday in the UK. How do these guys deal with that kind of attention? And how do you deal with trying to make it okay for them?
Well, you're 100% correct. The scrutiny on these gentlemen is just, the burden of it is very heavy, and it weighs on them quite a bit. So we definitely try to do a lot of activities together as a team. Mm-hmm. We start every practice with lots of affirmations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just really trying to build up their positivity about themselves and each other. Every season, we start with mood boards from everyone.
Okay.
And work on just how they want to see their season go. And then every once in a while, we'll do a retreat. There's nothing like a bunch of grown men crying in the woods to really get their feelings out and really create some bonds.
And now, for some of our viewers who maybe are not as familiar with these concepts, Joanna, can you give an example of what an affirmation might be from one player to the other at the start of practice?
Oh, I love this. So we pair up, and then the goal is to tell the other player, the other team member, something that they think they do well, or something that they think they can achieve. Like, you're going to make a really great grilled cheese sandwich today for lunch. I believe in you. Mm-hmm. And then they repeat it back. They say, I'm going to make a really great grilled cheese sandwich for lunch. And they just really manifest their own destiny that way.
And now, while you say that, what I'm thinking is, okay, that sounds great, but a lot of these guys are top-level athletes. They have been since they were kids. They grew up in a culture of machismo, a very masculine culture. Is it difficult to get buy-in in some of these things from people of their, athletic stature?
Absolutely. You really got to break down that toxic masculinity, but like we do that day one. That's why I'm in charge of this. I'm very good at breaking that down. By the end of the first season, for every newbie, it's all about, fuck the patriarchy, etc. So by the time they come in for season 2, they are ready to be, feminists, allies, etc. And ready to really embrace the whole person that they've become.
Now, Joanna, one thing that was, of course, a huge controversy in your season so far, and probably a seminal moment. Jeff Alexander, the captain of United, was quoted in the New York Times as saying that, and I'm quoting here, that kumbaya shit just makes them weak. Now, boy, that did not touch off a firestorm, and of course, it was an attack on you in a lot of ways. What did you make of that? How did you deal with that?
I really can't take that personally. Clearly, the toxic masculinity is still very strong there. I don't have time for that. My team doesn't have time for that. As you can see how we're playing tonight, it doesn't matter. And clearly what we're doing is working.
And then one of the last questions we'll ask, Joanna, again, thank you for joining us. You're famously very big into aqua therapy. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, would love to. I think that really connecting with the earth, especially when you're doing things like saying these affirmations out loud, can really center and ground you. And when you really let yourself be enveloped by an entire element, it gives you a whole new perspective.
We see a tremendous save on a rocket of a shot by the Prairie Dogs keeper. Steve, you grew up and you played in an age where this stuff was not really brought up. When you hear some of the stuff Joanna's saying, what do you think?
I have no idea what she was talking about. I didn't understand one word that she was saying.
Does it intrigue you at all, though, this idea of sort of touching base with your spiritual side?
I like touching things, yes.
There you go. Joanna, what would be the first step with someone like Steve?
There's a lot of work there. That's going to require a whole plan. I'm sorry. I think first step is really identifying what went wrong and who wronged Steve at some point in time in his life.
All right, Joanna, and last question for you. It's a similar question that I just asked Charles Starr, who is here, who knows Dan Wachtel very, very intimately. And so the question would be, what motivates, what inspires these guys, these Prairie Dogs, and what frightens them?
I think what inspires them is to be their best self and showing up for each other. This is a team of folks out there, and they're relying on each other to get the job done. And I think really, we really try to focus on like positive things. So we're out here to get the job done together versus they're scared of failure. So, and that's always a constant battle because we're all humans. But really working against that fear of failure and of making a mistake and just going for it.
And on the flip side, what frightens them?
Oh, sorry. I tried to answer both of those.
Oh, okay. No, you're right. I think that was a failure of listening on my part. We all have room to learn.
Look at all of us and all of our... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask Steve, do you have anything for Joanna before we let her go here?
No. How's your house?
What?
How's your house?
My house is fine.
Great. That makes me feel good.
All right, Joanna, this was wonderful. Thank you again for joining us. Folks, if you want to learn more about Joanna's practices, you can visit her website, crochetforlove.org. And Joanna, again, thanks, and enjoy the rest of the match. I guess from your perspective, go Prairie Dogs.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
All right, that was good, Steve. And now, while we were talking to Joanna, we did have 10 minutes of soccer action happening as we approach the end of the first half here. Where are we right now, Steve? Where does this game stand?
Well, it's been pretty back and forth. For a little while there, CLS was doing a really good job spreading out the field and controlling possession, but it seemed to break down in the final third. So they really just can't seem to put that final shot on goal as we're looking at this corner from.
And it looks like another corner. That one really seemed to settle dangerously in front of the goal area, and it's going to be another corner on the opposite side for Prairie Dogs. Yeah, Steve, I'm having a tough time, and this may be my own deficiencies. I'm having a tough time saying which team has gotten the better of things here in the last 20 minutes or so.
You're right. I think it's been back and forth. The Prairie Dogs have the goal, so the pressure's off them. They're just looking for a way to increase their lead. And CLS is feeling it and just really struggling to get any kind of offense going. Again, good possession in their own half, but then they cross midfield. They seem to lose patience and start really firing the ball too hard, missing their passes. So I've seen a lot of questions about whether Turnmill Pub is actually an Everton bar. It is, in fact, an Everton bar.
Yeah, Dan, we should have answered that a long time ago. Dan did tell us that, didn't he?
He did. And it's you can still go there. It's still okay. You won't be labeled a complete loser if you go to the Everton bar. So just know that. There's probably other good things about it.
And so I do want to shout out, too, CLS is sponsored by another alcoholic institution, Beer Noggin, which is a beer store and tap room with locations in Bronxville and Mount Kisco. And Jeff also asked, Jeff, the opposing captain, asked that I give a shout out to his wife, Marissa, who they were newly married on September 6th of this year. So congratulations to you both. They're watching. Marissa, anything negative I've said about Jeff has been a joke. I don't know him. And also to Jeff's brother, Mike, who is a longtime CLS player and goal scorer, and a couple of alums to Bobby Lienaberry, Eric Corsini, Eric Noto, and Larry Slaughter. If any of you are watching, well, your name has been mentioned.
Yes.
All right, here we go, Steve. The United is pressing yet again. And do my eyes deceive me, or do they generally seem to want to attack the middle rather than move it out into the wings?
Well, I think they're trying to go outside in, which is good. But as you see, once the ball comes back in the zone, the Prairie Dogs defense and midfield really keeps their lines together. They're really consolidated. So they're giving them the outside, they're giving them the wings, and they don't seem to be wanting to cross the ball, like taking it all the way to the corner and crossing it, kind of style soccer. So, the modern game is getting it into the middle and trying to get a shot from a good angle, as like we might see right here. That was, I think, in the third deck. So that's the modern style, but with the middle so clogged, they're just not able to get any kind of clean shots off.
Now, would you call this from either side anything approaching total football?
I think it's totally something. Yes. There's a lot of football happening.
Okay.
But you do
understand, Steve. Anybody who's watching this probably understands by now. My soccer knowledge is slightly limited. I am, of course, a professional announcer. I make millions of dollars for this, but I don't know the first thing about the game. And what I'm proud of is that I've resisted all temptations to make comparisons to basketball, baseball, football as the match has gone along here.
Yeah, we have a American sports swear jar that you have to put money in every time you do that. So you've been really good today. There's only $5,000 in there now. So if you keep it at that, I think we're at a good stopping point there. I think you've learned your lesson.
Fair enough. All right, another goal kick here, and it's again controlled by United.
So here again, you can see United when they spread. Well, that was a bad pass, but when they spread the field out, they tend to hold on to possession.
And yeah, here you see another big turnover. The turnover is what cost them the first goal. And again, you have the Prairie Dogs on attack. A game like this, of course, on such a cold night, Steve, could possibly come down to who makes the fewest mistakes at the worst moments.
Yeah, and I think that's right. Exactly how the Prairie Dogs scored the first goal, and now you see a break. That looks like would have been offsides. I don't know if the linesmen are in good position or not to make those kinds of calls. I just want to know from the chat, do we think that second tier up there are apartments? Are they locker rooms? I'd like to hear from the in the chat what you think is happening on the second deck.
And what are we talking about here? The second deck? You mean like the track that seems to? Oh,
the track that goes around. Yeah, I see people say, "Are there cars up there?" That looks
they
like
do look like cars, doesn't it? Yeah.
But there are doors. How did the cars get there? What are those windows? What's happening up there?
Well, I don't have an answer, but one thing I will say, Steve, is that things get weird at a pier. That's something I've always believed. I've always seen. I've walked on piers. I've gone to concerts at piers. There's something a little eerie about them. There's something a little strange. It's like the Bermuda Triangle outside of Bermuda. It's like a little slice of the Bermuda Triangle. Odd things happen. I'm not at all surprised to see cars on a running track. That's all I can say.
Yeah, that's good to know.
All right. Up next, Steve, as we must be getting very close to the end of the first half here. I want to welcome our next guest. It is Miles Cottom.
Hey, Shane, Steve. Thank you guys for having me on. I'm excited to be here. I realize I'm coming right on the heels of Joanna, which is not where she usually asks for it.
Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness. Again, we do disavow anything that people would like us to disavow. We disavow. Miles, I noticed you seem to be in ski gear. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's cold out there, Shane. It's a cold night here in this parking lot of the Econo Lodge. And so I'm just dressed for the weather.
And why are you in the Econo Lodge, Miles?
Well, that seems to be where this game's being played. So I just wanted to be there live to bring you the hot action.
And we saw a real good chance there, Steve, just cleared away close to the goal line by United.
Yeah, that was a great play. Although, it looks like they may have been calling offsides on that.
Oh, I see. Okay. Miles, what you have in common, not only are you a huge soccer fan, tremendously successful in soccer trivia, you also are a lawyer, like many of the key players here on both teams. So say something now that combines your soccer and law knowledge in a way that, is relatively astute.
Sure, absolutely, Shane. One thing I've noticed just based on this field tonight, there are a lot of lines out there. And I guess it really shouldn't be surprising that a bunch of Columbia law guys are having a gathering with a bunch of lines.
Okay. Now, you're somebody who, you're familiar with the law world. We talked about Columbia law a little bit here. What's the book on them? What should we know about Columbia law?
Yeah, thank you, Shane. The Palsgraf case. It's Palsgraf versus Long Island Railroad. And really what it established for the United States was that you've got a duty of care to someone if you can be sued for negligence, right? So what you're talking about, you've got Helen Palsgraf. She was waiting at the railroad station with her two daughters, and some two gentlemen way down the tracks were loading up the train. They were loading up a package, not that kind of package, but they did drop it, and it exploded, and it caused an old scale to fall down and hit Miss Palsgraf, who then developed a stutter. She was later elected so then later, she sued the railroad, saying that they had a duty of care to protect her from that. But what the courts ultimately found was that she was not a foreseeable plaintiff. The folks that were loading that package could not have foreseen that she could be injured by their efforts. And so therefore, she was not successful in her lawsuit.
And Miles, I don't want to speak to our viewers, but I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, so a prairie dog is not actually a dog, Shane. It's a rodent.
Okay.
And on average, these stout-bodied rodents will grow to between about 12 and 16 inches long. That includes their little stubby tail.
Fair enough. Now, Miles, getting to the soccer here. It's 1-0 Prairie Dogs. It kind of feels like it could be 1-0 either way. What are you seeing here with your super analytical soccer brain? What are you seeing here in the first half?
Yeah, so it's interesting, Shane. It's been a fast-paced game. It's been really back and forth. You're seeing the camera person's just panning one way or the other. But what you've got, you've got these. You're not seeing a lot of long balls, so it's not MLS style soccer. They really are building up play. It's just happening pretty quickly. You string together 3 or 4 passes. That may be it for each team. Part of that is the speed because that results from this game because they're playing on this this turf field. So you can see that the Gotham Soccer League has just as much respect for their players as U.S. Soccer has for its 4-time world champion women's national team.
Yeah, and so and here's a chance in front of goal. And what happened there, Steve? Do we know?
It looks like they're calling a foul. Looks like there was collision with the goalie.
Okay.
So it looks like it's a foul.
All right, thank you for that. Yeah, so that was obviously another dangerous situation. A pretty nice ball in there. So, Miles, you're out in Colorado. That's a soccer hotbed. What do you think of New York City soccer? Is it all style and flash and no substance, or is there really something happening in the New York City scene?
I got to tell you, the only adjective I can use to describe New York City soccer is jazzy. And it really makes sense that we've got Wynton Marsalis 2 here tonight because he's really bringing the scat to this game.
In what sense, Miles?
It's shitty.
Tough stuff. Steve, anything for Miles?
So what's with the goggles, Miles? What's the story there?
It's cold, Steve. You're supposed to mask up.
Looks like well, and by the way, it looks like we're at halftime here. Looks like they.
Oh, that's the half. Yes, the half ends with a score 1-0 to the Prairie Dogs. Great half, great start, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, they obviously they were a little shaken with Natari Muhammad seemingly coming out for the whole game. I'm sure that was on their minds, but then put one away, and United has been under pressure and seemingly nervous and unable to just put the ball in the net in a consistent way. Looked like they were coming back together towards the end of the half, but so far, Prairie Dogs have been able to hold on to the lead.
All right, Miles, you're Jeff Alexander. You've got a hell of a task ahead of you. You're down 1-0. It's 28 degrees. Everybody's cold. Everybody's feeling a little discouraged. What are you telling your troops in the locker room?
Sure, Shane. I think this is what Jeff is planning for the whole time. He knew it was going to be a cold night. He knew things were going to be a little tough going. That's why he reserved himself on the bench. So he's ready to come in the second half and make a big difference here. Likewise for the Gophers, you've still got Dan in there. He's 47. You don't know how long he's going to be able to keep it up on a night like tonight, running back and forth up and down the field. And so realistically, you got to think that the lines are going to favor the Harvard Law School guys here in the second half.
All right, and Steve, same question to you. What kind of adjustments are you making, if any, for either team?
Well, if I'm Jeff and I'm United, what I'm going to say is let's hold on to the ball. Let's get these guys tired. If they've got one sub already off the pitch, we can probably work them and wear them down. Also, I would try to explore those wings a little bit better. They keep bringing it to the middle too early into the melee. Let's work it down, see if we can work it along the end line, and then bring it back out from there. And Dan, I think they've done a good job. I think again they want to possess the ball a little more. The more they have the ball, the less CLS has the ball. So keep that ball, and then be very opportunistic with their offensive opportunities. Work again. The way they scored was a turnover on the side, on the left-hand side, work the ball on the end line, passed it back and score. So I think the same kind of thing, a little pressure up top. Looks like their defenders maybe can give up the ball a little bit. So keep working that with that high press and look for just be opportunistic, but otherwise be conservative, possess that ball and work the game. And there'll be opportunities open as CLS has to come out and bring more players up the pitch. There'll be opportunities for them to get down and score.
And Steve and Miles, the Prairie Dogs, a very respected team, but there is a little bit of controversy with them too. Their tactic that they call walk to Nacho. It's a derivation of the Catenaccio Italian defense. People sometimes don't like it that they put this up when they're in the lead. Miles, what is your thought on that? Is this a philosophical and aesthetic offense to the league, or is it just smart tactics?
You play to win the game, Shane. And what the Prairie Dogs are doing, they're parking the bus. And you can see, if you look around the outside of the field there, they've got a number of buses parked out there. So they're obviously very effective at this strategy. They've been able to keep a clean sheet throughout the first half. They're going to switch ends. We'll see how the wind and the weather affects them on the other side. But frankly, Shane, when you get to a game like this is the kind of grit and determination you need to have.
Yeah, and Steve, insofar as we've been able to pinpoint individual players and analyze individual play, who are you looking for more from in the second half? Or do you just want to talk about some of these people that we have some information still that we haven't used on all of them?
we have some information that we haven't used, yes, against them. Since it's almost virtually impossible to pinpoint anyone on the pitch itself, because we're pretty far away and the resolution isn't great. We can talk about some of the other guys. Lowell Bone, second leading goal scorer, was playing with the reserves early this year. I think he's got an opportunity to come out and do a great job. I'd like to see Whit Marcellus and see how he does, see if he can command from the attacking mid position, be able to be a hold-up player and have other players work off him. Again, impossible to tell who's actually doing what on the field, but we know that all we know is that the Prairie Dogs are winning right now.
And what you really like, Shane and Steve, what I'm really interested in for the second half is to see if we can get a return from Nazr Mohammed. He's made it all the way from the slums of Kentucky basketball to the Gotham City final. So hopefully Nazr can come out and show us a nice second half.
Well, on that thought, Miles. Oh, sorry, Steve, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think we might be talking about a different Muhammad. This is Natari Muhammad and not Nazr Mohammed. But
yeah, I think you might be slightly mistaken there, Miles.
I don't think so.
Okay.
All right, Miles Cottom, thank you very much. We really appreciate you stopping by. Good luck in the Colorado cold. Good luck at the Econo Lodge, and thank you for your insight.
Hey, thanks, guys. And listen, Dan, Dan's brought us all here. I do want to thank Dan, a real trivia guy that Dan Wachtal is. He likes to think of himself as a regular Brad Rutter, but you got to understand he's much more of a Brad Garrett.
Thank you very much, Miles. Steve, what do you make of Miles Cottom?
I'd like to make a lot of things out of him. Nothing that can be said over the air.
Well, if you want to do one more player here, we got another guest queued up, but maybe looking back at some of the other players here might be interesting, Steve.
Well, you already mentioned, we talked about Joe Ginn, former Golden Boot winner in the league. Looks like they're about to start up. Henry Caballero, who is a current member of the Penn University of Pennsylvania varsity team, which is actually obviously where Donald Trump went to school, who's now living in New York City because of COVID and is playing with the team because Ivy League sports have shut down. So he's able to play with these guys. A lot of talent on the Prairie Dogs. And looks like they're actually back up and running.
And, I got to say, I love the name Caballero. It literally means horseman, but it's a word that means gentleman in Spanish. I think it's one of those great catch-all names. So congratulations, Henry, on having a wonderful surname.
And his parents. I think we really should credit the parents, right?
And their parents. Who knows how far it goes back. With last names, it could be a very long time.
The whole paternal line, I think, should just take a big bow. If they're on the chat, they should just give us a wave and be happy to say hi back.
All right, the second half has begun, as Steve said. The teams have switched sides. If you're listening on radio, the Prairie Dogs are going left to right in your mental map. The CLS United going right to left. And Steve, I think we're ready to bring in our next guest. Trevor Thomas is here.
Oof.
Hello, Trevor. How are you tonight?
I am doing well. I'm in the Twin Cities in Minneapolis, and I'm excited to just watch some quality New York City soccer.
And I noticed, Trevor, in the background, you've got some of those great hotel curtains, which we all love so much. They're
is that a goal right off the bat?
Yeah, we just missed a goal from CLS to tie it up.
Oh no,
CLS,
a tie goal from CLS United. I'm sorry if I momentarily lost my objectivity there. And Steve, describe that goal because I was not even looking.
It was really a great solo performance of one of their forwards, and again, impossible to tell which one, but it's probably Tyler Forbes, who's their leading scorer. Basically walked around 3 or 4 people, avoided a couple tackles, and was able to slam it back into the net. It was really excellent footwork, excellent shot. Got to take your hat off to Tyler Forbes.
And and that's just consummate Forbes right there. What this team needed was a quick goal to start the second half. You don't want to get deep into the game, still trailing, feel that sense of panic, hang in. And what the great players do is they strike and they take their opportunities in the moment when it's most needed. And you're going to see, I think, Steve, here, CLS United really start to be buoyed by that example of their leader.
And that actually seemed like pretty minimal effort from CLS. I think the Prairie Dogs just came out half asleep to start this half.
Well, I imagine that that Dan was having them do the Saturday crossword puzzles from
That's right.
the last 10 weeks.
Yeah.
So they might have been a little brain tired coming back out, but they're definitely awake now.
Well, Trevor Thomas, we have you here. Up until last week in Apocalypse Sports Trivia, you had a perfect soccer record. I believe it was something like 30 for 30. You were unblemished. You missed one, a Rafa Benitez question. It happens. But, you are somebody who has this consummate knowledge of the beautiful game, as I know you love to call it. And what I want to ask you is, in your imagery of the hierarchy of global soccer, where does Gotham Soccer League fit into you? What has it meant to you as a kid growing up? What does it mean to you now? And what's the continuity there?
You know what? As a lifelong New Yorker, it really means a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
I've got friends who have played in the lower leagues of Gotham soccer. Me, myself, I stopped playing soccer in third grade because I was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But I've always just enjoyed the sport for what it is. And I've loved that New Yorkers have just found a place to play soccer in a city where you might not be able to find that.
Yeah, that's great. And, Trevor, you and I were talking earlier today. You have got
Shane, not to cut you off, but it appears our stream has been interrupted by a chat.
a Facebook chat with my friend Ariana. I'm glad that is not something more embarrassing. Okay, let me go back to the stream. Just give me 1 second. Steve, if you could continue the interview.
Yeah, Trevor. So tell me about your rooting interests. Who do you really root for in soccer? I think we have an opposing rooting interest.
Yeah, I think that's safe to say, as I see your little jacket there. I'm a fairly large Everton supporter.
You are large. I think you're above average size, so I think that makes sense.
That's what I was talking about. I'm a normal supporter, but I am a large human. Oh, here we go.
Oh, hey, we're back.
Sorry about that, folks. I hope our numbers haven't dipped too much, but that was a Facebook glitch, actually. So this is streaming off Facebook, so that's why you immediately saw conversation with Ariana Ely, who, by the way, Steve, I think it's the reason we know each other. She's my co-host on the Cameron Lazy's podcast, so how appropriate that she came into our lives at this moment.
How appropriate. And I think that now the score is 12-12. I think we missed 11 goals. It's still tied, though, so I think the tension's still the same point.
Yeah, we fundamentally, we didn't miss much. We missed 22 goals, but yeah. So, Trevor.
Here we go. Here's an opportunity.
Oh, good defense there.
Good play on the defense there. Trevor, we were speaking before the match. You are somebody who has 4 sons now. And the oldest one, you were telling me, in his room, he has a poster of Natari Muhammad, this year's Golden Boot winner. So it's clear that, looking at Gotham Sports League, this is something that isn't just for, people of a certain generation in New York, but it's carried on through the years. Now you have 2 generations at least of Thomases who are really.
I've definitely brought it on through all of my children. They come out the womb. They're immediately.
Oh no! Just again, don't want me to cut you off, but CLS has just scored again.
Oh no! CLS has taken the lead with the second goal of the match. Wow!
Yeah, just to describe that, sorry, Trevor. Just to describe that goal, looked like the goalie came out a little aggressively. Ball went over his head, and then the goal was wide open for the player on the backside. I believe again it might have been Tyler Forbes once again. 2-1 CLS.
And a brace for Forbes, and you have to think, Steve, that is both the blessing and the curse of having a youngster back there in goal. They play with a certain passion, but they can get carried away and sometimes find themselves a little adrift.
Yeah, and he's one of the few players on the Prairie Dogs that did not play in college. Obviously, he's of college age, and so maybe some of that experience, lack of experience, is hurting him right here.
And now I want to point out, okay, so the Prairie Dogs find themselves up against it. They're down 2-1 here. But Trevor, you're somebody who's watched Dan Wachtel quite a lot over the years.
For years.
This is somebody defined by resilience, as we've talked about before. When his back is against the wall, in some ways, that's when Dan is at his best.
I think they play so much better from behind than they do. They're terrible at protecting a lead. They just find themselves parking the bus, and it never works well for them. And they just need to be on the attack at all times. And I think that's what we're going to see here in the next 35 minutes, and I think it'll do well for them.
Yeah, and I think your time is about right. Steve, does that check to you that we've seen about 10 minutes of play here so far in the second?
Yep, that's I think 8 to 10 minutes, somewhere in there. So there's a lot of time left.
Let's note the time, and we'll say it's 11:05 right now, roughly. So if it's true that we have about 35 minutes left, we would expect the match to end at about 11:40. So we can kind of keep that in mind as we go along here.
That's right.
Yeah, some real old school stuff, keeping our own time here.
And Shane, as you were saying about my children, I did hear my eldest just breaking things when that second CLS goal happened. Just in the back room, just smashing chairs.
So you brought him to Minneapolis.
Yeah. I can't travel without him.
Good stuff. That's great. Well, Steve, any last questions for Trevor here before we let him go?
So who's going to win the Premier League, Trevor? I think I've heard enough. The silence is deafening.
I have one more. Trevor, what's the shot count right now?
For the night or since I've been on this call?
I'd love to hear both.
Yeah.
It's probably about 14 for the night.
Jesus.
Two since I've been on the call.
There you have it. Trevor Thomas, consummate gentleman, soccer wizard, and proficient alcohol drinker.
Thanks for having me, guys.
See you later, Trevor.
Steve, you can fuck.
Oh, I couldn't hear what he said.
I think I did accidentally cut him off at the end. I think I inadvertently helped you out there, Steve.
Something I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what he was about to say. I think we need people who are in the chat to reach out to others. Maybe put a message out there we need some more support out here. So we're down to 43 people on this stream. Mm-hmm. Maybe someone on this chat can put a message out that we need more support for whichever team you root for. And I think that combined effort will help your rooting interest. So
I think we're going to see a massive surge here in the second half. I think we're going to see up to 1,000 viewers by the time this game enters its denouement here.
We just saw a yellow card.
Yeah, it looked like a shoulder grab to me, a pretty overt case of halting a player's progress on the Prairie Dog part there.
Yeah, but this is last game of the year, so these cards don't carry over. So at this point, you got to let it all go and do whatever you can to win the game.
So looking back at that second goal, Steve, people in the chat are calling it a howler, really kind of piling on. It seems like that was sort of the defining blunder of the match right now.
Yeah, it obviously counteracted I think what was a defensive misplay on the first goal by the Prairie Dogs. But yeah, it looked like it. I don't know where the goalie was going. Looked like he just came out a little too far, and just a strategic mistake. Kind of like Jordan Pickford does all the time. So I think Everton supporters would know this very well about goalie mistakes, and it looks like United is again able to spread the ball out and moving the ball downfield a little easier now.
And they clearly have not fallen back on their heels or anything like that. They seem to be ravenous for that third goal, perhaps taking a lesson from the Dutch, who played the Germans in the 1974 World Cup final, had that 2-1 lead, couldn't get the third goal. The Germans eventually came back and won. So they really want that third goal. It feels like the way things are going, Steve, a third goal might put this one away with the temperature, with the way that they seem to have found the cracks in the Prairie Dogs' defense.
Yeah, although they say a 2-goal lead is the most dangerous lead. So you get complacent, and then the other team scores, the momentum can go the other way. So, but I think they're definitely dominating play. United is dominating play right now, controlling possession, and you're seeing the Prairie Dogs getting a little more stretched out offensively, where they're trying to go solo, one person at a time, and it's just not working out because they're not able to connect those passes like they were in the first half.
Well, Jameson Weiss in the chat had a remark I found funny. He says, some are saying the view count is not accurate. Viewers have been thrown out, and we're finding new viewers in briefcases. So that's certainly something to consider, Steve.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that. I think I saw something else about dead viewers. That's probably true. I mean, we've probably killed at least 10 people on this, people viewing this.
All right. Well, the minute we brought Trevor on, CLS United starting scoring goals in droves, and now we're going to bring on our next guest, your Codenames Premier League partner, Steve. As we see a shot in that is punched away by the keeper, and still trouble there. And it looks like okay. Finally, the Prairie Dogs regain control. Wow, a nifty play by number 8 to get through. And he's got to hold up a little bit because the player he was looking at was offside. Plays it up to the left. And just a little mistouch there to kind of halt the momentum. But they still got something in front of goal.
Make a turn here.
Oh, wow. Great stuff. All right, let's bring, as the ball trickles out of bounds, let's bring Sean Dodson onto the broadcast.
Gentlemen.
Sean, how are you?
Those vuvuzelas are just being piped in at a real loud level. Sorry, I think that real quick.
And Sean, of course, you are at a Prairie Dogs supporter bar at the moment.
Oh, of course. Prairie Dogs all the way. Let's go.
Sean, what are you seeing here? You're known, the reason we had you on is you're known as the biggest booster. For a long time, you were the only Prairie Dogs hooligan. You would try to incite violence. You've kind of stepped back from that now, but you're still the number one fan. You must have been feeling good at halftime, a little less good right now.
You know, it's a real struggle right now. I mean, you know, the captain, Dan Wachtel, and I are really good friends. Don't pay attention to any of those pictures that say, oh, well, the pictures are taken from behind bushes or anything like that. Because that's blatantly false, and that's libel and slander. So, I mean, Dan and I go way back, and I've been just trying to support the Prairie Dogs any way that I possibly can. And really, you know, if that's from a restraining order level of like 500 to 800 feet, then that's what I have to do. You know, I'm just here for the team.
And I want to give a quick shout out. I did say number 8 who made a great move in the midfield. That's Jacob Siegel. He's actually one of the few players whose numbers I have. So credit to him. Well done, Jacob. And Sean, you've been there through thick and thin with these Prairie Dogs. You were there when they were in the 2nd division. You were there long before they were in Gotham. How do you feel about CLS United? Here's a team that you lost to in the championship twice. You beat last year, and now here you are again, and it's going to be another dramatic game. What are your thoughts about that club?
You know, I've been through thick and thin. Whether or not it's, you know, kind of struggling through the mire a little bit there. You know, they always ask us, can we do it on a cold, rainy night in Staten Island? And the answer is yes, damn it. Like, we can get there, all right? And as you can clearly see, the past 4 seasons, we've been right there in the final. I mean, it's our time to shine. A little bit of a disadvantage right now with the 2-1 differential, but, you know, there's plenty of time left. We got this.
And Steve, you famously wrote the book on fan culture in the Gotham Soccer League. You wrote the Gotham Mad Men, a New York Times bestseller. You spent a lot of time with Steve. From your perspective, what is a guy like, you spent a lot of time with Sean. From your perspective, what does a guy like Sean bring to the atmosphere of this league, of this club?
Well, he brings a level of intensity and, truth be told, insanity. He's a guy like Sean who's
come on, great block, let's go. Sorry guys, my bad.
Like I said,
it's good. Yeah,
brings an intensity and irrationality that is necessary in soccer to root for a team that has 14 people, has 100 Instagram followers.
And there's a great passage in your book where you describe Sean's routine when he travels on the road to follow the Prairie Dogs. He actually tells people, as we see across here that goes begging, he tells people his name is Dan Wachtel. He checks in under the name Dan Wachtel at hotels. And Sean, again, we talked about Trevor's kids. You have 2 kids, a son and a daughter, both of them named Dan Wachtel.
No, you're actually wrong there. The son is Dan, the daughter is Wachtel. That's what
I apologize.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have a third, what would you name it?
Wachtelino, probably. Yeah,
gotcha. little Wachtel, perfect. Okay, Sean, getting down to nuts and bolts, you're another strong soccer mind. From what you've seen so far, what do the Prairie Dogs have to do to break through here? It seems like, to my eyes, momentum is going the wrong way. They're getting further and further from equalizing.
Well, it's been in the CLS half for about the last 5 minutes strong right now. Really just need to calm down, get possession in the midfield. Defense is holding pretty well, and now that Trevor is no longer cheating on the call and giving them goals somehow, I don't know how he did it with his black Minnesota magic or whatever, but the fact is Trevor's off now. I'm on. I'm here for the Prairie Dogs and just need to calm down. Again, we're settled at the back. Losing Muhammad in the first half, I mean, that was a death blow right there. And yet they still managed to go up 1-0 to start. So just need to regain that vim and vigor. And see right here, they are controlling the midfield and don't have anybody near them. It's heartbreaking.
Eve Lochtel with a comment says, "If only I could pick out my own husband," referring to the difficulty. And I got word we have a sideline reporter. Unfortunately, by the rules of the Gotham Soccer League, we're not allowed to have that person actually on screen, but they are relaying text messages. The Zoom button has broken on the camera there. So hopefully, ideally, you'd have a backup. They don't. It's not a great time for it to happen, but this is the world we live in.
Come on, you Prairie Dogs.
Sean, what are some of your favorite Prairie Dog songs?
I mean, honestly, you have your classics, Glory, Glory, Prairie Dogs. Glory, Glory, Prairie Dogs. And then, I don't know if you've heard just real banger, You'll Never Walk Alone as a Prairie Dog. Liverpool actually co-opted that from the Prairie Dogs of War in the Gotham Soccer League. And I mean, there's an ongoing legal battle about it, but it's difficult to deal with when another team just completely takes your shtick.
So your contention is that You'll Never Walk Alone as a Prairie Dog was the original song, later adapted by the English writer Jerry and the Pacemakers, whoever, to be just You'll Never Walk Alone, at which point Liverpool took it and kind of made it famous.
Yes. 100%.
I think wasn't it from a musical first carousel or something like that, I believe.
It was, but surprisingly written by Jerry Lee Lewis, who was also a huge Prairie Dogs fan back in the day.
Jerry Lee Lewis. Okay. We're all over there. That's good. This is good.
Yeah, Rock Around the Clock and the Prairie Dog song were his two hits. Now, a funny story in the recording industry, it was a coin flip to find which would be on the A side, which would be on the B side. Rock Around the Clock was the A side, of course, the rest is history. The Prairie Dogs now might be as big as Manchester United if things had gone a little differently, if that coin had landed tails.
My fellow hooligan, aficionado, very well point out that Who Let the Prairie Dogs Out is another phenomenal club song and theme.
All right, Marissa Glassman, this stream feels very Prairie Dog heavy. Any CLS correspondence coming on? Well, Marissa, I'm glad you asked. I would invite you on, or anybody you think is fit, if you email me at Shane, SHANE .SPR and the number 8 at gmail.com. Granted, that's an unwieldy address. I'll say it again, Shane.SPR8 at gmail.com. I will send you a link and you can come on and you can give the CLS perspective, because I have to imagine you're quite happy right now. So the offer is there, not just for you, for any CLS correspondents who would like to come on.
Well, clearly you already had that backstabbing rat Trevor on, who is a CLS mole.
Yeah, well, exactly. I mean, clearly he like you said, he has some voodoo. All right. As you see, we have a little interruption in the live video. I'm on that.
I think it was because the one of the players at the bottom of the screen was stripping, so they had to kind of go to a kind of a family-friendly view.
All right. So is the feedback on, gentlemen?
Yeah, it's on just a small screen. It's not.
Yeah. I'll maximize it right now. Yeah, that is interesting. It does feel like a low-tech affair, but the FCC still sent 7 agents there to make sure everything went well.
Yeah, there's our stripper. Oh, it's like, see, they're interrupted again.
Whenever my goodness!
The stripper comes on the field, it just shuts off.
Come on, this is after dark. It's fine.
It's like Morgana the Kissing Bandit from the 70s in baseball.
All right, I'm going to try. We're going to keep reloading. That's all we can do here.
That's all we can do. All I can do is reload.
Yeah. Okay.
There's the stripper.
Is it the same thing playing over and over again? No. Okay, good. All right,
get
well,
those,
let's see if
get
this
those
one
live.
works. I'm a little bit out of ideas. All right, Steve, I estimate we have about 20 minutes left here. At what point does panic set in? And look, at the same exact point, that is really unfortunate.
Look, guys, there is no panic that's going to set in here. I don't know if you watched that lesser match the other night. I believe two intramural teams like Seattle and Minnesota were playing. And Seattle scores 3 goals in 18 minutes to end this game, with their last goal coming in the 94th minute. So if anybody can do it, it's the Prairie Dogs. By my count, we're at about 22 and a half minutes into the half, just right about halfway there. So got about 22, 23 minutes more. Can easily bang out 3 goals here.
I think
All
that's
right,
right.
so
Again, I think they need to calm down. I think this constant refreshing of the video is helping them. I think they're probably resting while the video's off to make sure that they're getting all the ad revenues, because they don't want to give up any of the millions of dollars that are coming into the Gotham League from the 45 live viewers.
yeah, and the really sad part about this is that we are not going to be able
Dogs
to tell.
ball 3-1, mother.
Wait, is that true, or are you just saying that?
Well, that might be true.
All right, so unfortunately, I keep refreshing the video. I'm going to show you guys here what's happening. As you see, oh, here we go. Perhaps we're back on.
Well, we're back on.
All right, we're back on. Okay, I'm going to assume the score is still 2-1.
We have no idea what the real score is. It could be 2-1. It could be 3-1. Rumor has it. Many fine people on both sides are saying it's 3-1, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, who's actually saying that? Where does this come from?
I think there's some trolls online that are like basically messing with the space-time continuum.
All right, I am incredibly happy to say that Marissa has agreed to join us.
Wait, here we go. Opportunity?
Yeah. So Sean, I'm going to let you go. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And good luck with the rest of the thing. And look, stay safe. If they lose, just remember it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, we'll bloody well see about that, won't we?
Hey, Sean, before you go, just a parting message. Arsenal 2. All right. Just work on that one for a while.
All right, there goes Sean. So I've sent the link to Marissa, and hopefully she'll show up here momentarily. Again, Steve, 15 to 20 minutes left. It looks like the video for now, thankfully, is working as far as we know. So there are people who are saying it's 3-1. Cooper Tubiana on. I have no idea what he knows.
Cooper's the only one who's saying that. I think Cooper is a CLS fan, I'm assuming, and is making it up.
He says Devin put it top corner with a bicycle kick. So yes, he's making it up. Yeah, we're gonna say it's 2-1. Oh, and look, Steve, you're not gonna believe it. That quickly, we have Marissa here.
It's amazing.
Let's put her on.
Get her on there.
All right, Marissa, you are live with Steve and Shane. How are you? Marissa, can you hear us?
Can you hear me? It's very hard to hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you, Marissa, pretty well.
Okay, now I can hear you. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm Jeff's wife.
Oh, you're Jeff's wife. Great.
Yeah.
Well, happy marriage. It's been less than a month, right?
No, it's been 3 months. But
Oh yeah, September's 3 months away from December.
yes.
Of course. Okay, I was going to ask you for your connection to CLS United. Obviously, you've answered that. What are you thinking right now? We think the score is 2-1. You must be pretty happy.
Are you sure it's 2-1? Because I thought maybe it's 3-1.
It's unverified. We don't have confirmation on that. So
Okay. All right.
There are a number of saboteurs and agent provocateurs in the chat that are spreading misinformation and compromise. So we don't know what's going on. But how about this, Marissa? Do you have any idea who scored the goals for your team?
I have no idea. But I will tell you that Jeff went into this, the CLS has won, I think, I know they won 10 championships, and last year it was all of them except for the one the Prairie Dogs won. So I know that Jeff was really excited to get back on the pitch, as you say.
Sure.
But he felt like the underdog. So I'm really happy to see that it's 2-1 right now.
So he felt like the underdog, even though they had an undefeated season and had beaten them earlier this year.
He did, yeah.
Wow. Now give us a rundown on Jeff. So a guy who's leading his team to, to that many championships. He's got to be a driven person, somebody I would imagine he's competitive. Nobody knows better than you. So fill us in there.
I'm sorry. I was reading the comments. Someone calling me Kaylee McEnany, and I got distracted. What was the question?
Question was basically tell us what kind of guy Jeff is. Give us the down low.
He's the best, and he loves this team so much. And he BCCs me on all the emails that goes out to his team. That just shows how much he cares about them. And he's as you said, this is from CLS. He graduated from CLS 2008, so he's been on this team for a very long time. He loves it, and he's very selfless. I know that you were talking about he put himself on the bench, whereas Dan plays the whole game. So I'm happy he's doesn't play the whole 90 minutes, because then he doesn't complain so much tomorrow.
Hey, I have a question for Marissa. Is it true that Jeff is one of a triplet?
Yes, he is, and actually his brother Mike is here as well. He was texting me.
Oh, and are they identical triplets, or are they fraternal?
Sorry, you keep cutting in and out.
I'm sorry, are they identical?
I think I can only hear one of you.
Marissa, are they identical triplets, or are they?
No, they're fraternal.
Fraternal. Okay. And how did you and Jeff meet?
We met on Bumble, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
And was it instant connection on the first date, or how did that go?
It was, yeah. It was really nice. And then we found out we had some mutual friends, so that was nice too.
Where did you guys go for your first date?
We went to a sports bar in Midtown East.
Got it. Now, how competitive of a guy is Jeff?
Very in all ways.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you mean by always?
I mean in sports, in intellectually, and in just everything. Politics.
Now,
is a big one.
Now, Marissa, we were talking earlier with the team psychologist for the Prairie Dogs. You're somebody, you have a front row seat to the reality of what life as a star in the Gotham Soccer League entails. The fame, and what's it like for you to deal with that as you contemplate a lifetime of dealing with this?
Yeah, you know what, it is pretty difficult. But I knew what I signed on for when we started dating, and especially when we got married. I know that I'm, just playing number 2 to CLS, and I'm okay with that.
You're okay with that. That's great. And Marissa, what do you do?
I work at an accounting firm. Nothing exciting.
Gotcha. And do you all live in the city?
Yeah, we do.
All right. Well, what can you tell us about this team here? I mean, they obviously they've had, like you said, a track record of immense success. Are they front runners? Are they good at keeping leads like this? Because I think we're in for a very tense final 15 minutes here.
In the time that I've been with Jeff, they've really pulled out the W a lot. So I'm hoping that they can bring this one home as well. But I told him he can't bring any more trophies into this apartment. So
So there's a lot of trophies. Yeah, I would imagine.
Marissa, how do you feel about joining Slacks, like new Slack groups?
Not my favorite.
Not your thing? Just curious.
Well, that's how we met Dan Wachtel, and you were saying earlier that it's imbalanced in favor of Prairie Dogs. This is why it all stems from a Slack community.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. Well, Marissa, any final thoughts here? All I can say is congrats so far on the success through 80 minutes, and I think we're both, Steve and I, rooting for an equalizer,
Sorry.
but clearly you wouldn't be.
It looks like there was a goal. Did we?
Oh wow! The Prairie Dogs scored.
Oh shit!
We all of
And
us
with
are
that,
sick.
I will sign off. But thank you for having
All right,
me.
Marissa, have a great night. Thank you.
Bye.
Wow.
This is amazing. This is incredible.
Oh, I will just say, Stephen, my first attempt at soccer commentating, I'm 0 for 4 in calling a goal as it happens.
Well, you're all about the. We're getting a little bit roasted. I think we might have lost our Emmy possibility for this broadcast. You're all about the relationships and the conversation, which this is more like a talk show with a soccer game going on in the background.
I think that's the only way to do it when you can't actually see what's happening.
That's right.
And I want to say to Heath Tomar, he was waiting to come on. We had booked him for 11:20, and of course, the Marissa storyline. Hey, how do you not bump him for that? But Heath, if you're listening, I just DM'd you. We'd love to have you for the conclusion here, and thank you for your understanding.
I think it was important to hear from both sides.
It was actually, it did make it a little more fair, a little more balanced, didn't it?
Fair and balanced. I was going to say the exact same words. I think it's time to talk about Turnmill Pub one more time. One thing I'm really looking forward to at Turnmill Pub is that grilled cheese sandwich. Throw a little bacon on there. I think it's got a little Swiss. It's got a little American. It sounds amazing at Turnmill Pub.
Steve, I have to say, when Dan asked me to mention Turnmill Pub, I was in my head like, yeah, maybe if I get to it, because they're not our sponsor. You've really taken it on yourself to the point that I'm wondering, is Turnmill Pub kicking you back anything?
Again, I cannot say if they are or not, but I do want to also shout out their truffle fries. Fantastic.
Okay.
Wonderful menu item. Beautiful seating, great location, very convenient. Turnmill Pub, turnmillpub.com. Check them out. Remember, 27th between Lexington and Park. You got to go check it out.
Yeah, just a beautiful location. If you've never been to Murray Hill, folks, unbelievable. It's the jewel of Manhattan, a lot of people say. All right, I am very pleased to bring on the epitome of patience himself, Heath Tomar. Heath, welcome.
Oh, thank you. Good.
Yeah, now Heath, obviously you got bumped from Marissa. We had to bring on the wife of the opposing captain.
Obviously.
But it's almost a good thing. You've had now a chance to watch about 80 minutes of this game. It's tied 2-2, an unbelievably spirited comeback from the Prairie Dogs. What do you make of this match so far?
Well, I'll be honest. The Prairie Dogs, they got their early goal, and they kind of tucked it in. And I'm, showing a lot of good commentary.
We definitely have a cramp happening here.
I was afraid that.
That's the telltale sign of the calf cramp.
I'm sorry. Please go ahead. Carry on.
So that's it. I just wanted to make sure.
No, Steve, I've been bumped already. I'm entirely prepared for. I didn't know the Gotham Soccer League bumped folk. But, no, thank you, Steve. It's good to be here. I didn't know the Gotham Soccer League bumped folk, but how many folk got bumped from the Carson or Letterman before their first shot? So
exactly.
It happens. It happened, and you're still here. And look, you're also here for
what a ball in! What a ball in!
And saved by the keeper.
Gonna assume that was saved. Okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think your point is a really, really good one. Even as somebody who's not an expert at this sport, it was clear to me that there was a big difference between the play of the Prairie Dogs after they scored the first goal. Between that and when they went behind, there was some kind of drawback a little that clearly didn't work for them.
Well, there was, and it was almost like they were surprised to get the opening goal.
Here we go.
We got a scuffle.
Oh, all right.
We got a scuffle, folks.
We got a yellow card, another yellow card. I think that was a very aggressive foul. Very aggressive.
You guys want to call in the officiating expert to bump me again?
No, it's Heath. You were interrupted again. Keep going, please.
No, it's fine. No, listen. There's people who know. Anyway, the Prairie Dogs, they got the early goal. It almost felt like they stole it, and they were kind of happy they stole it, and they kind of packed it in a little bit, and they let the CLS control the tempo. And to be fair, it was a good strategy because CLS kept hammering shots from 40 yards that weren't going anywhere. And I feel like I'll be honest, I feel like the captain spent a lot of time distracted at halftime. I don't know what, maybe crosswords, I can't say, but
sure.
Yeah. Ultimately, they've recovered, and that's really a testament to the leadership of the Prairie Dogs. Let's see.
All right, and it booted back out. We got to talk about an emerging narrative here, guys. The Prairie Dogs have not only held on, but come back from a deficit without Zafari Muhammad, without their number one keeper. I mean, this is, no matter what happens in this game, I think the Prairie Dogs are going to be quite proud of themselves when this one finishes.
And that was their striker.
What did I say?
Keeper.
Oh, yeah, I knew he wasn't a keeper.
It's very similar positions.
Yeah, if you could pick two positions out that are the same on a soccer pitch, it would be those two.
As someone I played keeper for 30 plus years, and I say it's basically the same as striker.
Well, did you see the blunder for the second goal, Heath?
I did, and it was an unfortunate effort on the keeper's half. I didn't get to see the replay because there's no replay, but it looked like he got a little aggressive, and then it didn't work out for him. But he's recovered nicely since then. He had a really nice clear on the corner earlier on a tough ball in, and since then, honestly, I feel like the Prairie Dogs responded to that. They saw their man make an error. He got down, and you know what? He got back up. He made a great play to keep him in it, and they responded with an equalizer.
And take us through the decision-making on that most perilous of moments for a keeper, Heath, where a ball is out there lingering kind of in no man's land, and you've got to make that instantaneous choice whether to come out or stay back. What makes somebody good at that, as we see the Prairie Dogs have another chance here? And he's taken down in the box. Is that going to be
no ball?
Center.
No, and they are furious. The Prairie Dogs are out of their minds it's a goal.
Oh, great play on from the center.
It's a goal.
It's a spectacular play on from the center. See, that's why you let the game go.
Oh my. 3-2 Prairie Dogs. And you could see in that shot, at the end of that shot, you could see the United keeper lying down, absolutely distraught. Because, Steve, we said 11:40 the match is going to end. We've got about 2 or 3 minutes left. Oh, my goodness. What a dramatic goal. This is spectacular. The Prairie Dogs are up 3-2, and time is limited.
And it looked like they were trying to see. The ref did not call it. Maybe he was actually waiting for advantage, and in that advantage, the Prairie Dogs put it in.
Extremely
okay,
well
so
done
I wasn't mistaken that they did seem furious for a moment, right? It seemed like they were all converging on the referee.
And this looks like it's getting heated out there. We could see this is like a powder keg ready to explode. These guys could be getting after each other any second now.
Wow, this is dramatic. Now, on chat, Lawton Stroud is saying it's more like 6 minutes remaining. So, and Sean is saying about 38:45. So I think people have been keeping better track than us. So we got about, oh my goodness, the ball gets over his head, and that's a goal.
That's a goal.
That is the equalizer. Unbelievable.
Now these things are coming fast and furious.
Heath, I'm glad we have you here. Take us through what you saw from the keeper there.
All right. So what the keeper did was, and these are going to be technical terms, and I'm not going to. I apologize for laying technical stuff.
We can handle it. We're big boys here. We can handle it.
He fucked up.
It almost looked like he jumped too early, didn't it, Heath?
That is the technical term. He jumped too early. There's not really a descriptor beyond. He jumped too early. He misjudged. He thought he was going to catch it, and then he did not.
And here comes United again, and this is an unbelievable swing of momentum here. Boy,
this is where you need your center backs to pull forward and to really give the keeper the confidence that he does not have at the moment.
Wow. And that it looks like even though he jumped early, he may have got a finger on it, and on the rebound, whoever put it in, I'm going to assume, Steve, it had to be Forbes again.
The hat trick.
It has to be a hat trick for Forbes.
Yeah, he put it right in the top corner. He put it real high, and it just, tremendous finish. Wow. I mean, you talk about going from heartbreak to heartbreak. Both teams got to be going through the emotional roller coaster right now.
I don't even know who's got the advantage if we get extra time.
And, I got to tell you, I don't know what the rules are for that. It's a championship game, so they've got to be extra time and maybe penalties, right?
Surely 15-15 and then penalties, I would imagine.
I would think so.
And because we missed about 30 seconds, it looks like there's still some uncertainty about the score. We think it's 3-3. We think it's 3-3, but we don't know for sure. But I am almost positive it's 3-3.
I think the other thing we're seeing here is we're seeing two very tired teams, and you're seeing just mistakes, some turnovers in key places. And this is when you really need to concentrate. This is where the training comes in. This is where some of that Joanna training comes in. And
that's right.
Disciplined, knowing your mood boards. I mean, you're bringing the mood boards on the sidelines. All that stuff is really important at this stage in the game.
And we just saw a nutmeg there to go back to an earlier reference. Oh my,
that's two.
Goodness gracious, they are really, really pressing. And isn't this just sports, guys? Because the Prairie Dogs had the fairy tale story inked. They had it written, and all they had to do was hold off for 5 minutes. And just immediately, the way things can change with that goal. Wow. I'm still in a little bit of shock, quite frankly.
Well, this is where management comes in, because you don't know, you play like you're going to win it in 90, but you've got to play like it's going to go to extra time, as you see Prairie Dogs players down there. And this is where the subs come in, because those extra legs in the last 30 could be the huge difference. I don't know if they play silver goal, golden goal, just straight up for 30 minutes, but there's a lot on the line here. And
yeah,
that other dude fell down also.
Yeah, and these guys are playing their hearts out. Steve, we've talked about the rivalry, the intensity. We saw some near fisticuffs earlier. We see a player down at the moment.
That's great sportsmanship.
Yeah, a little. That is nice to see. Judging by the blonde hair, I'm gonna call that person Henrik Olsen, who was stretching out the player's leg, his calf muscles. Oh wow!
From 30 yards, this could be it.
So here's a free kick. Yeah, we're getting very, very close to 90 minutes here, and that's going to be over the top, no problem. Boy, I mean, I hate to say it, but as a Prairie Dog supporter, you've got to be taking a little gasp every time the ball goes near the goal at this point.
You do, and I'll tell you, as a keeper, the best thing in the world is when you actually don't have to do anything. So that ball over the goalpost is a sweet sigh of relief.
Well, tell me this, Heath, because I've always been curious.
The two of them are, yes.
No, yeah, I was just saying, I think it's always been interesting to me as United Press is here. It's always been interested in the psychology of a keeper. What makes somebody want to do that? You can have glory, but more often, don't worry, we are going to fix this, folks. More often, Heath, you're kind of you can look bad, but it's hard to look too good. It's a strange psychological place to be. Talk about that as I try to find our new link here.
Oh, absolutely. So let's say you want to play a sport with a lot of folks who are really good at the sport, but you're not good at the sport. But let's say you could find a thing where it's technically part of the sport and no one else wants to do it. And then you think, maybe I can be good at that. And it turns out that you kind of are, and no one else wants to be the person throwing themselves in front of 80-mile-an-hour launches off of some dude's foot, and hey, you're a keeper. And you kind of go from there.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. And what did you do? Play high school, Heath?
I played high school. I played college. I played club. I still play now. And it turns out there's still people who do not want to get kicked in the face by some dude who got a cup of coffee with the Columbus Crew. And I'm willing to do that. So that's, at a certain point that might be on me. I don't know. I don't judge. But, everyone lives their own life, I don't, Anyway, back to the game.
Yeah, we just had to clear out here. In the chat, we're estimating that it's got to be about 45 minutes, and I believe they might have just blown the whistle, Steve.
Yeah, they might have just blown it right there. So it looks like, they're going to have to regroup, and we might be in for another guaranteed 30 minutes of overtime.
And if that's the case, Steve, I have some business to attend to based on all the beer and water I've been drinking. Can you carry the conversation with Heath for 2? Well,
no, Steve, I'm here. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wait a second here. There's some celebration going on, and I'm just before I go, I want to make sure that the game is not over here.
That's a reasonable choice for a commentator.
Yeah, we don't really know the score.
No, they're staying right on the field. We're fine. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Thanks. All right, Heath, why don't you give us a sense of what your soccer background is?
Oh, well, I grew up in bumfuck North Carolina, where it wasn't a thing. So I learned to play and kind of got, again, no one wants to play keeper, and I was willing to get kicked in the face, so I just kind of kept doing it. And turns out people reward that. And so, here I am 40 years later. A lot of you guys here talk about the touches and the skill of the midfielders. I don't really know about that. I just know about basically throwing yourself in front of shit and trying not to get injured. And it looks like they're setting up for PKs here, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. They're all grabbing stuff out of the goal.
Yeah.
Because they're doing PKs right away. Is that what your thought is?
That's my thought. And you know what the PK, and this is true, all the pressure is on the shot taker. The goalie's not expected to make the save. I don't care what you've seen. I don't care what you've heard. All the shots on the taker. So at this point, this is a huge chance for the Prairie Dogs keeper. And forgive me for, I don't know this man, to redeem himself.
Yeah, well, it's David Mashkovich.
Well, now I feel bad. You know his name. I thought he was just some rando on the internet.
There's no randos. These are all real people. So tell me what you're thinking. So you're the goalie.
Right.
So are you trying to read eyes? Are you trying to read some body language, or are you just making a flat out guess and you're just going to dive?
It depends on the situation. So right now in this league, you know, these guys have played against each other for years. This is one of the most heated rivalries in, I don't want to say it's not just New York sport, it's American sports. So these people, they know the history. They know, you come into it, there's nobody in this who isn't steeped in the history of the Gotham Soccer League. And so the tradition, so there's 5 shooters, where this guy is traditionally, historically gone. So at this moment,
okay.
But you have all that, but you can't rely on that because you want to see. But that the shooter has all that as well. So see body language, you want to see eyes, and don't worry about anything they're doing until they approach the ball.
Guys, I assume I'm very late to this, but it's clear they're going right to penalties, right?
It is very clear that that's what they're doing. And if we have anybody again in the chat, go out to our Slack, or anybody who can get to the Slack, and let them know that there are PKs happening. This is it.
This is actually
this is the time to watch. This is what it's all about.
That's a good point. Maybe I'll shoot a link here.
Yeah, just get that link out there because are we going to see a De Bruyne just a flat out miss? What's going to happen here? That's what I want to know. So if I knew the numbers of all the players, we could kind of see who's stepping up here. And I do wish that Zoom button were working, because this would be a perfect time to have a Zoom. That is not
19.
18, 19. Let's see if I have a number on that.
19 strides to it. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have that number. So.
And it's good. It's a good goal. Perfect. Left side, low, and it couldn't have placed it any better.
I'll tell you that flappy arm shit the keeper's doing, that does nothing.
That kind of spaghetti arm type thing. Yeah.
That scares no one, especially if you're approximately 6'1", as that dude is,
All right, great start by the Prairie Dogs. That's 1-0 here. Of course, only one kick taken. But at this point, Heath, if you're a keeper, I have to imagine you want that early lead. You want that just little bit of psychological edge.
As a keeper, you absolutely want to go second because you want to be the guy.
That's good. Had him fooled, went left, and that's 1-1.
That's what we'll take.
Well, he's actually, it's interesting. I don't know. It looked like he was a little off center, and even in his lineup, it looked like he wasn't even centered in the goal.
No, he was off center, and he overthought it, and just and like we may have heard from the captain earlier, this is a new keeper, doesn't know a lot of the strikers, doesn't know a lot of the tendencies. This is on the captain at this point to let the keeper know what to look for.
And what a chance for redemption here, right? For in a way, maybe for both keepers. And here comes the second.
Oh, that's a great finish.
Beautiful.
I think that was Henry Caballero, as a matter of fact.
That's a great finish. There's nothing.
Caballero high and to the right. Now, Heath, this is probably stating the obvious, but a high shot, obviously more risky for the kicker, but much more difficult to save for the keeper. Yes.
If you guess right, you look like a superstar. But yeah, the high shot is more difficult than the low shot because your body's already there. But that was a spectacular finish regardless. And again, the keeper looks, from our perspective, offset. Let's see what
here he's. That's another goal. It's another goal again. You can't fault the keeper. Perfect shot.
That's a really good finish.
Practically side net there. All right, so we're at 2-2. I assume 5 penalty kicks. I think that's probably safe to say.
Yep, that's the baseline right there.
Yeah, it would be shocking if they had some kind of different formula. So Mashkevich has watched 2 great shots go by him.
This might be the man. This might be Dan the Man Wachtel right here.
Is this it? Okay, Dan, come on, convert. And he does. Beautiful.
Finish.
Absolutely
Hammered.
beautiful.
Hammered.
Well done, Dan, if that was indeed you.
I'll give it a 90% likelihood that was Dan.
Absolutely hammered. That was really nice.
All right, Heath. So here you are, 3-2. You're the keeper. At this point, any save is getting to the point where it could be definitive. Do you think differently? Do you do anything differently?
It's all depending on the shooter, and you take their approach. I see he steps straight back. Straight back. He's likely to try and push it, drive it.
Yep. It's just perfect. It's just perfect.
It's perfect. But you know what? I rode him going that direction, and the keeper 3 for 3 is leaned to his left. At that point, they're reading the keeper.
Yeah. So here we go. Again, 3-3. Any miss at this point is potentially quite costly. And this looks like actually number 8, doesn't it, Stephen? That Jeremy Siegel?
Yeah. Jacob Siegel. Yes.
Jacob Siegel. Oh, please, Jacob.
Played University of Chicago club soccer.
Here he is. He comes from the left. He's a left footer.
Taking it with the left.
And it's saved. It's saved. Unbelievable.
Spectacular. All right.
Guessed correctly and got the left arm into it, and it comes right back to him.
That's a spectacular save.
Oof, 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 oof. Well, here you go. Mesh has got to make one of these next 2 saves, and there's very, very little room for error. If they score here, it's not over, but it's darn close.
Oh, this is the big one because you put your 4th shooter who's not your strongest because you don't expect it to come to the 4th. So this is traditionally your weaker shooter.
So which way is the goalie going to go this time? Is he going to continue to go to his left?
And he saved
He did.
This is amazing.
Oh,
The Ukrainian assassin does it.
absolutely.
3-3
That's a
after
huge
4
call.
shots apiece.
Absolutely huge choice there. Well done.
Oof. Now we have a situation, Heath, where if the Prairie Dogs were to make it, it's sort of a score or lose, a sudden death in a way and that has to put way more pressure going to the other side on the kicker.
It's on both of you, and I've been on both. I've been on both sides of it, and it's brutal. But you trust yourself, and at a certain point, you trust, and you try to direct that guy towards that side.
And it's saved again. Really
exactly what happened.
kind of a weak kick, really, I have to say. Steve, what do you make of that one?
Well, no, actually, it was a strong kick. He might have been telegraphing a little bit, but the goalie made a guess and made a commitment to that side. It looked like he was going to hit side netting, but the goalie just made it over there. No, this is it. This is a do or die.
If this ball goes in, the match is over and United wins. And boy, what a match it's been. What a dramatic match. Mashkevich, he comes up with a huge save, and he's got to do it again.
You see him taking his time. He's going through his routines. He touches the post. He takes his steps, and he centers himself.
That's good.
Oh,
That's
that's
it.
a finish.
That's the match, and here they come. Here
That's
comes
amazing.
CLS United to celebrate a worthy victory, really an incredible victory, trailing by a goal with about 5 minutes left. They equalize. They find themselves facing a tie after 4 penalty kicks, and they come away with the win. A deserved championship. What can you say, guys? I mean, they were, I think, the better team overall tonight.
I think that's right. I think except for a couple of times during the match, United definitely controlled the ball, moved the ball well, created the scoring chances, especially in the second half. I think they really just dominated the second half. A couple of lapses, but it was a well-deserved victory and a hard-fought match for both sides.
And you see, I don't know if it's Dan, but you see somebody out there congratulating the refs. First in line to congratulate the United. Some good sportsmanship there. And
Just the one fellow, though.
yeah, just one. The rest will have none of it.
That might be Dan.
I mean,
That's Dan,
it's probably cold. It's late.
I think that might be Dan, the captain, representing his team, showing
Well, he
leadership.
should.
I think you're right. And hey, a great season by the Prairie Dogs. Listen, they had 2 losses. Both of them were by the skin of their teeth, and both came against the best team in the league. So when it comes down to penalties, anything can happen. We always know that. I think quite a bit to be proud of coming back, and again playing that entire game without Muhammad, your best scorer, and really one of the best players in the league.
That's right. I mean, taking the Golden Boot winner off after the first 2 minutes definitely hurts them both in the skill, but it also hurts them psychologically. So to press on, get an early lead, and fight back at the end of the game, that showed a lot of heart and resilience from the Prairie Dogs, and they should definitely be proud of the season they had, and should look forward to next year with everyone coming back healthy, including was it Mr. Fry, who was their back. You know, they're going to have a couple players coming back, so next season should look pretty good.
All right, well, guys, it's been a pleasure to do this. I think maybe we should see if there's an appetite for a short post-game show. I would love to have Dan on here. I think that's probably impossible.
No, I think he's got a lot to answer for. I'll be honest.
Well, is Eve still on the chat? I guess that's a question. Is Eve still on the chat? And can we? I'm sure she's distracted, distraught. But if she's still on the chat and she can reach out to Dan, that would be great to get a post-game interview with him. And so say hi, Eve. But maybe she's asleep. Maybe she turned it off after the second half.
Yeah. And it's fine. I'm sure he's got to talk with his team, and there's probably not a chance to get that. You know how these guys are.
Well, you said we had an issue with the sideline people, so there's no one to talk to the captain in the locker room afterwards.
Eve says she's texting him, Steve. You ask, and she delivers. And then, look, Sean Dodson, if you're still on here, we'd love to have you back. Click the link. Like to hear from you about what's going on. So, Steve, how do you recap something like this? I mean, dramatic game, two very equal sides. Could have gone either way.
Yeah, well, we said at the beginning of the game, it was the top two teams. These are the best two teams over the last several years, over the last several seasons. So we knew it was going to be hard fought. The last game came down to a red card, a controversial red card, and a comeback by United. And so we knew it was going to be a back and forth affair. We knew there were going to be goals scored. It finished under the 6.5 goals, but we were right there. So lots of goals scored. Lots of hard fighting, yellow cards, injuries, everything we expect from the Gotham Cup and the Gotham Cup final. And again, two teams that should be incredibly proud of their seasons and incredibly proud of the effort they put on the field. You could tell they were leaving it all on the table. There were cramps and everything. And it was just a lot of skill. I'm very impressed with these guys, and I can't wait to see. I assume United moves up to the MLS next year directly. They'll be right there, I guess, kind of fighting with NYCFC and all those guys. So congrats to them for getting on national TV.
Well, Sean, we heard a lot of positivity there, and I think well deserved positivity from Steve. But I imagine. The hardest of hardcore supporters like yourself isn't feeling super positive right now.
Life is meaningless. If the Prairie Dogs don't win, I just have a day.
But Sean, as a supporter of the Prairie Dogs, you've gone through this before. So what are the things that you do to cope with losses that you've experienced year after year after year? How do you do that? A little White Claw. What you got with that White Claw?
I ran out of everything else.
Sean, that's a tough L for you, Sean, but I feel like you guys are shooting a lot of positives out there.
It was a good match. Some good saves there. Definitely good saves.
Well, towards the end, but also, like, where are you on the couple of tough goals at the end? Do you feel like those were mistakes by the keeper, or there's, like, nothing you could do there?
Bloody terrible defense there. That was rough.
So you're more on the captain there. You're more on the center backs, wings.
Well, that one was on whoever is supposed to be marking the back post, and the goalie just absolutely committing when he shouldn't have.
A lot of times the keepers commit, and then they realize I'm not even 6 feet tall, and then they don't get to a ball. And so
generally, if the keeper commits, there's somebody there.
Do you find yourself compelled, Heath, to defend keepers when they face criticism?
Dude, so much, because as a statutorily challenged goalkeeper, I understand how difficult it can be, but also, you have expectations based on what those 6'7", 6'8" dudes are doing. And hey, speaking of, a giant just joined our conversation that maybe could lead some insight into what, let's say, someone 6'6", 6'7" could have done in that same situation.
All right, yeah. As Heath alluded to, we're joined by Kyle Wasco. Kyle, you want to give us your thoughts on the match?
I couldn't. It was intense. I thought there was some suspicious goalkeeping in late stages, but I didn't have the audio on. I apologize to say. I'm very looking forward to listening to the rebroadcast at some point. So I can only follow and read the chat.
Now, I heard a very interesting adjective there: suspicious.
Yeah.
Suspicious goalkeeping, as in perhaps, I don't know. Explain what you meant by that.
Well, there was a free kick very late in the game that seemed to be pretty innocuous, and then all of a sudden it led to what I think was the tying goal. I don't know. It just didn't. I'm not saying it wasn't on the up and up. To be clear,
No, I'll tell you
surprised.
that's you get to a spot, and I'm being genuine now, where your team expects you to come through and to make that play, and you maybe should let your center back make that play because he's 6 inches taller than you, and you should, and his head is taller than yours, and you should let him clear that and not get yourself way the hell out of position. And I feel like that's what happened there. And it was a guy, punching above his weight, so to speak. And I've been that guy, so I respect him. And I'm not mad at him.
That's fair.
All right, well,
but
guys,
I feel for Sean. I feel for Sean so bad. I feel so bad for Sean because as someone who can't do anything but cheer, it sucks.
I just got a DM. Oh, Sean, it gets emotional.
I was trying to be supportive.
It gets emotional. It gets emotional. I just got a DM from Dan Wachtel who just one word gutted, and I gave him the link. I gave him the link and said, if you want to do the post-match interview, and I just got a text that says brutal loss. I think that's from Dan as well. I don't know if we're going to count on him to come, but there's your mindset for Dan.
Well, Dan says that, but how does Sean feel? I think that's what really we're talking about.
I see Michael Alexander, brother of Jeff Alexander, in chat, cheering for his CLS champs, the United champs. Well deserved, Michael. Your brother did a fine job. Marissa, she was a sport for coming on. That was great of her to come on and share her thoughts on CLS as well.
Yeah, we have to thank her. And look, Michael Alexander. Whether you're down with the gloating or not, they deserve it. They earned it. They're champions. They've been champions, and they lost their championship last season. They lost to the Prairie Dogs, and we knew it was going to be a battle, and they came through and won. So all credit to them, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, absolutely. I think they stuck through it. They got down early, and then they responded, and then they got down again, and they responded again. There's no reason. That's a championship mindset you got there.
All right, Dan says, I don't think I can, to be honest, but I'm really touched and grateful that you guys watched, and my wife was too. So there you go. And I feel like with that, it might be time to wrap this up, gentlemen. What do you say?
Look, my last thoughts here, other than just not wanting to live anymore today, is I really want to know how is Joanna's house?
See, I'm asking the question that everyone wants to know.
Kyle, parting shot?
I just realized it's on a video delay, so if you saw me counting on my hand up until 10, that was including. No, I had a blast, guys. This is excellent. Very well done.
All right, thank you, Kyle. And Heath, you're up.
Yeah, no, I just want to say thanks, Kyle, for chiming in. I see you've got the history of the Gotham Soccer League in several of those books on your shelf, and I just, at some point, I'll maybe do a reading. I don't want to, no pressure, but
including Steve's book, Gotham Madmen. Which brings us, again, Steve, it was a pleasure doing this to you. I can't thank you enough for jumping on board. And your final thoughts, my friend.
Again, great final. It was everything we'd hoped for and more. All the guests, Heath, Kyle, Marissa, Sean, Miles, Joanna, Charles, who was first? Did I miss anything, everybody? I think
you got him. Yeah, Charles, and you had Miles. Yeah, I think you got everybody.
Once again, of course, last but not least, I want to thank Turnmill Pub. Go there for jazz, go there for open mic night, go there for, I think they have a chat plan. Turnmill Pub, 27th between Lexington and Park. It's the place to be. I don't get paid for any of this. I promise.
He just loves it. And yeah, I don't have anything to add, guys, except I have one question for all of you. And the question is just one word. Code names?
This is where we play it, right?
All right. Goodbye, everybody. Congratulations to CLS United, and congratulations to Prairie Dogs and Dan for a wonderful season and a wonderful match.